We all love the idea of property being a passive income or even a safe space for ourselves to live in, but there are people who unfortunately are victims of missold properties. And I'm bringing in someone today who's actually been through that experience themselves and then later become a professional to stop this from happening to other people in the future. So if you've ever been missold a property and you've been through that painful experience of then discovering later down the line what you've actually acquired and what you've actually bought, and you have nowhere to turn and you didn't know that you were in this situation to start with, then this is the episode for you. Perhaps you're an advisor, you're a mortgage advisor listening to this, or a lender, and you're thinking, actually, that does happen and it hasn't happened to me yet, but what if it were to happen? How can I tackle this experience? Now, I did some research and there are approximately 4 million leasehold properties in England. Now, most of these leasehold properties tend to be flats. And in recent years, however, some developers have been selling leasehold houses too. So in this experience, and the person that I have brought on to speak to you about this today is a lovely, lovely lady who I've been following on LinkedIn. As you guys know, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I stalk people on social media. Just for the record, I don't stalk them in a really creepy way. I actually just go out of my way to look for talented, ambitious, qualified, experienced, and some great stories from different walks of life. So from different walks of life. But it's not just about the most qualified and the most senior and those people who are on the leadership board. It's also those stories that are untold, those stories that go unnoticed. And those are the kind of stories that I want to bring to this show. You are listening to The Money Honey, and you are with me today, Rosalia Lazzarettilli, your host. I am the host of The Money Honey, which brings together women in property, finance and construction, but stories from all over their experience, from their backgrounds, their talents. And I really want this show to be a safe space for people to come on and talk about something that is important to them. So today's show is all about, like I just said, about purchasing leasehold property and it going wrong. So if this is you, stay tuned, because right now I'm delighted to bring the wonderful Lucia Knott. How are you doing, Lucia?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you very much. Just come back from a nice holiday with a rash all over my face. So for anyone watching on video, I really hope it's not that visible. But yes, other than my face being, I don't know what happened. So I went. Oh, well, I went to Morocco and it's one of my favorite places to go if I want like some really quick, winter sun getaway. And I had a hammam and, body scrub. And I think it's because obviously we had a grey winter and suddenly, I was exposed to sunlight and, I was like a vampire, suddenly my skin was like shriveling up and I was like, no, this is not. I have to apologize about my face today because trust me, I didn't want to cancel on you. So I thought, I'm just going to have to face it literally. And here I am. So thank you for being here, Lucia.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Now, let's dive into this subject. But before we do, I really want to know about what happened to you and why you were missold that property and how you found out and how you got, how you dealt with it, basically. But just for those people who don't know you, I wanted to leave the intro to yourself. So tell us, who are you? What do you do? And what do we need to know about Lucia?
So I am Lucia Knott. I am a mortgage and protection advisor, and I started the industry in 2021. Following my purchase in 2016 of a leasehold property, which I kind of knew back then as well, that you don't own the bricks and mortar or the land. I didn't quite understand what you owed. I just thought, well, it's my first purchase. I'm super excited. I don't really care. I just want to get out of renting. And I naively just signed on the dotted line like everyone does. And really it's up to the conveyancer to advisor, conveyancer, estate agent to be open and honest about what you're purchasing. I wasn't told anything at all. I just got asked, do you know what leasehold is? And I said, yeah, I worked in solicitors before, the same solicitors as well. So I was like, yeah, I know what leasehold is. No, I didn't. I did not. It's a massive spider web. And you know when you just think you've reached the end of it and then he's just spinning another one and another one. It's a bit like that. It goes on and on. And we have just completed on our own deed of variation last year through the lovely Rubina Ferreira from Woodstock Legal. She was amazing and she completed it in less than a year, and it can really, really drag on. But a deed of variation is like an alter of a lease. In our case, it was the alter of the lease, but it's like an edit of a document. And we had to chop our ground rent down and cap it back to its original because we were paying $250, and then it doubled literally the next year that we moved in. We received 2 invoices, the first original one and then another one. And then I was like, what's going on here? And then the freeholder said, oh no, it's doubled. You're on a 10-year doubling ground rent. So we weren't explained that neither. And can you imagine every 10 years? I mean, we're only 2 years away from it going up to £1,000. So it's really, really lucky. Well, very lucky actually to be able to get that deed of variation completed last year. So now our ground rent is capped at $250 a year. We're no longer an assured short hold tenancy, and we haven't got so much of a massive threat above our head. The threat is still there, but it's not so big for us because, again, we got really lucky to do the DOV. But the other thing that hangs over you if you don't do anything is the permitted, the forfeiture rights, sorry. So that's basically if you were to miss a payment and end up in arrears, it could be something similar like a £150 payment, and they add on admin charges. As soon as that hits £350, they then can forfeiture your property. They can take hold of that clause and forfeiture. So can you imagine dropping 210k down on a property that you think is your dream home, and they come along and just go, now you're homeless. We're taking that, now you're homeless. It's not right. Leasehold needs to be stopped for that reason as well. And the only thing that makes that difference, repossession, is that a lender can auction your property, and if there's any profit, you get that. Forfeiture don't. The freeholders, it just goes straight back to the freeholder. You have no property, you have no money. You've put all that money into your property for the last how many years you're there. And it's diabolical. It's barbaric. It's old. It's very outdated, and it needs to go. And essentially, England is the only country that still has, and Wales, sorry, that still have leaseholds. Scotland already converted to common hold, and they're working it very well. And I don't see why it can't work out for us. It's going to be very hard, and it's going to be a very lengthy process. But I feel like if we collectively as a nation put that pressure onto Parliament, the more noise we make, the more chance we've got of stopping this once and for all.
And what is being done about that? I mean, it sounds horrendous, and I've never bought a leasehold property. All I know is that my mum said, do not buy a leasehold property. But actually, you don't get that level of education. You don't get taught why. You don't get taught how it even works. So just for transparency for the listeners, because we have a variety of people listening, obviously some of our listeners are qualified mortgage advisors, so they all know very well about this, but others might be end users or people from in the property space looking in thinking, I was considering buying that. Can you just clearly explain then how you would have liked it to have been explained to you what leasehold property actually is?
If my solicitor had turned around and said to me, you're not buying nothing, you're just buying a piece of paper that dictates how many years you can live there, and there are going to be service charges that are uncapped, there's going to be ground rent that you can't do nothing about, you can't even pay it off monthly if you haven't got the money, because most freeholders will let you do it once as a goodwill gesture, and then they'll say, no, you've got to pay that money. And if you don't, forfeiture comes into place. So if my conveyancer has said you're paying, in my case, £165,000 for a piece of paper, I would have said no, I would have walked away, absolutely. But I wasn't told that. And I've had to learn the hard way, just as hundreds of thousands of people around the UK have had to learn the hard way. And we're very lucky that we've got the NLC. I don't know if you've heard of them, the National Leasehold Campaign. They're all over Facebook as well. And they do campaigns in London. They do protests. They are fantastic. We've got Katie, Kathy and Joe, who are the leaders. And they all went through this and thought, you know what? We're not standing for this. We're going to make a campaign group, and we're going to fight for leaseholders all up and down the country. They are three very, very fantastic women. And Katie's already been on an hour call with me because I just thought, look, I know what's going on, but can you just clarify the facts? And even then she went over so many more things that I wasn't even aware of. So, yeah, it's just a case of conveyancers need to be honest with what you're purchasing. And if you then decide to go ahead with that, fair enough. You know, you've made a well-informed decision and that's okay. Everything's complicit. You can go ahead with that. That's essentially down to you for still going ahead with that. However, I do think that brokers need to know more about it. Estate agents need to be more honest what they're selling and what the costs are going to be once you complete on that property. And I think there's like a triangle, isn't there? Estate agents, brokers and conveyancers at the top. And we all need to work simultaneously to get this message across to buyers exactly what they're buying. I think like if they were so honest, the leasehold purchases would go down a bit. They would reduce a bit because people would say, well, I'm not paying for that. But at the same time, it's going to be a long slog because in South Essex, I don't know where you are, but in London, Southend, South Essex, it's completely almost impossible to buy a freehold as your first time purchase. Leaseholds are a lot cheaper for that reason. And freeholds are just so much more expensive. We've got no choice to go leasehold. I had no choice to go leasehold. And I tried to get out of it, but I couldn't because my flat was then classed as unsellable. It was literally valued at zero. There's a lot of flats up and down the country that are valued at zero because what's there to sell? It's just a load of cost and a piece of paper. Nobody wants to buy that now.
So are you still living there, if you don't mind me asking?
Yes, because we just completed on our deed of variation last year. We can now put into effect what we want to do. But I bought a new car and my car broke, so it took away all our savings as well. So, you know, you get somewhere and you think, yes, we're going to move out now, and then something else happens. That's very unfortunate, but we're back on the track now. And I've just remortgaged for another 5 years, actually. Rates are very up and down at the moment. So I just thought if I do a 5 year, it gives us a bit less pressure to have to move out in 2 years. And we can really look harder because even though we got a leasehold now, we know what to look for. There are still houses as well. It's not just flats. There are still houses that are called leaseholds. So you buy the house, but you don't own, there's some properties where you don't own the loft space. You don't own the front lawn. There's just a story last week that I read online and some ladies saw their front lawns on sale on Rightmove and it was the investor selling their front. Could you imagine seeing your front garden and your driveway on Rightmove and you're thinking, that's my home, but they had no right to it. So, the investors can collectively, they can sell off chunks of your land, the whole estate, the houses, it doesn't matter what it is, they can sell it off in chunks. And you don't even have to morally, they should give you notice. I think some of them do have to give you notice in certain things that you want to do, but there's a lot where you don't get no notice. It's just a shock that these things, you have to find out later on because no one tells you. It's very, it's quite a cheating industry to be in. I'm not a massive fan of freeholders and developers. I think there's a lot of scandalous stuff going on behind the scenes, which again comes down to us mortgage advisors and conveyancers to tell our clients exactly what they're purchasing. And again, if they still want to go ahead with that, not only are they crazy, but it's down to them at that point.
Right. This is absolutely, yeah. First of all, I just wanted to point out, I am speechless about the scandal that was on behind leasehold. I genuinely, in the time that I've been in mortgages for 10 years, I've never done a mortgage on a leasehold, but I've never heard of the scandal that comes with it.
And it's a scandal, yeah.
I can't believe it. Like, I just thought, you know, I understand that, you know, a leasehold property is when a property is bought, but the ground in which it is built on is not. So I just assumed, like, you know, you don't own the land, which meant, like, my assumption was you can't refurbish or develop or build something on the land. I just thought, like, the land was preserved and was kept the way it was, but you owned the actual bricks and mortar. That's how I understood it.
Yeah.
But you have to obviously pay ground rent and things like that for the land that you're on, which is why it's cheaper to acquire. And obviously a freehold property is when you own the property and the land of which it stands. So that was my understanding. What I want to point out, just in case it was missed, because you've shared so many valuable points there, is the NLC, which apparently is a community and association that helps and fights for leaseholders. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
And when it's lady, Katie, Jo and Kathy, made the NLC. It's been going on for 7 years now. I've been with them since the beginning. I've lived here for almost 8 years now. They have just been godsends, absolute godsends. When you want someone to fight for you, these are the 3 ladies, and it's taken 3 ladies to stand up and say to Parliament, you're bang out of order, it stops now. Although, as we all know, legislation takes a long while to go through. There is a new legislation that is coming in, and it's because of them that these reforms are happening. We have a lot to thank NLC for this, but there's a new legislation where the government are trying to make it so much more easier to extend your lease, purchase a freehold, and just make it fairer and cheaper. I don't know if you know about marriage value as well. So it's when a lease goes down to 80 years and under, which my parcel turns up now. I've been waiting all week. That's just happening.
Lovely. No, don't worry. Well, I've been on a podcast before. Do you have to get it? Go get it. Don't want to miss your parcel.
It's fine. I don't want to miss it, but it's absolutely fine. No, it's they'll leave it by the door, hopefully, or bring it tomorrow. I'm here. So
no worries. Oh gosh, it's all kicking off. Right. Don't worry. We've had this before where parcels arrive and babies are screaming. Please. Don't you worry. But no, what I'm really enjoying is this is exactly what the Money Honey is for, right? This is exactly what we stand for. And I've just been writing some notes here, and you've said it's taken 3 ladies to stand up to Parliament.
Yeah.
This, which hello, Money Honeys, I would definitely recommend them. We should get them on the show if you think they're
fantastic.
They would be fantastic, because I want to get behind this this scandal and actually, make people more aware of it. This is exactly what this show's about, is to bring together those who are doing, and it's not just women. We obviously have interviewed men as well, but it's about, celebrating those stories and the amazing work that you're all doing. And your day jobs as well. Not to mention, I know that you're a mother, Lucia. So, I know that you've got a lot on your plate, but this experience that you've been through, what has that led you to do? Because I know that off the back of this experience, you changed your career, didn't you?
I did. I went from a CEO to a civil enforcement officer to mortgage broker. It was and a housekeeper before that. So it's a complete 180 turnaround, but I've always had a love for finance and property. So to combine them into mortgage broker, it was just a no-brainer. But it was just the leasehold thing that was the cherry on top. I've wanted to do it for years. And, you just think, I can't do that. It's going to be really hard. My maths isn't great. I can't do that. And it turns out, actually, I can. I'm not as dim as I thought I was, apparently. But no, it's that led to where I am now.
Please, 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 please don't ever say that again about yourself. I think, the conception about becoming a mortgage broker is that you need to be an absolute whiz at maths, and also you need to have, 50 properties under your name or something. And that is absolutely not the case. No. What you've been through, that's exactly what helps you to become a fantastic, I'm sorry you went through it, but that's what helps you to become a fantastic mortgage advisor, because your own experience, your own living proof of what you've been through can help the next person. So, okay, so we're in this situation now where some people could be listening to this and actually have had no issues about being a leaseholder, right? They're like, oh, I live in a leasehold property and I did, none of this has happened to me. What steps can they take, or what can you preempt for them, or what do they need to check out? Is there any top tips that you would give to someone who's already, maybe not someone who's not buying one, but one that's actually bought it already?
I'll start off by saying that not all leaseholds are bad. As much as I'm coming across and absolutely trashing the whole system, it is trash, to be fair. But I'm not, it's not all of them are bad. I actually know one of the receptionists at work is a freeholder herself, and she's lovely, absolutely lovely. She didn't even understand what she was purchasing when she went to go for the freehold. It came with the freehold. So not all leaseholds are bad. You just need the right advice. A lot of new builds now they don't even come with ground rent. It's just massive service charges instead to make up for that. However, if you have already bought a leasehold and you haven't got no problems, that's not a problem. Congratulations, because you've just hit the money pot on yours. But the rest of us have unfortunately become very unlucky in that. However, if you have got a leasehold and you're struggling, and you're coming down to the 80 years, or your ground rent is a bit too high and you can't sell it, definitely look at extending the lease. Or you can even enfranchise, which if you're an apartment, you can get 50% or more of the leaseholders to come together and collectively purchase the freehold. But then you can also do an RTM, which is a right to management. So you can bring on your own management as well. You can manage the property, the building yourself. So there are ways that you can sort of disassociate yourself from high service charges and a freeholder, but it takes a lot of people to come together, and they might sign up at first, and then suddenly when the paperwork all comes in, they're like, oh no, actually I can't be bothered, I don't want to go through this, oh it's just too much time, it's too much paperwork. It's incredibly hard to enfranchise now. But as I was saying before the knock on the door came, the legislation is starting to change, where the government do want to make it, they don't want to, but we're pushing them to make it easier for us to make our property sellable, to be able to extend the lease, to be able to buy the freehold, to be able to extend above marriage value without paying the extra charges that the marriage value brings. I don't know if you're aware, but once you hit marriage value, the costs just explode astronomically. You can't even get a total amount neither, because at the end of completion, anything could have happened in that point. Freeholder could have put the costs up. You need money, which ironically you're living in leasehold because you don't have that money. So it's a bit of a circle, really. We're stuck. We're not even mortgage prisoners, although that can happen. We're more like prisoners in our own home because we can't sell them on. So if you have got a leasehold and you are happy in it, consider yourself extremely lucky, because there are thousands and thousands. I'll probably say it's 1 in 5 that are kind of happy and don't really have a problem, or maybe they're not aware and nobody's told them, and they're not aware of NLC, or they think that their service charge is actually okay, even though they're paying £3,000 a year and they've got no lift or concierge or anything like that. By the way, that's not okay. That's incredibly extortionate. But if you're happy, you're happy. I'm not here to put a downer on anybody. I'm just here to make you aware that if you're stuck, there are options. And if you do need to move out, there are options for you to go through like a deed of variation or indemnity to satisfy the lender as well, which we've all considered, we've all gone through. I've helped my clients with that as well. But it's all just about being aware of what you're buying and what you're getting into. And if you still go ahead with that, my job's done. I'd done it at the beginning by telling you about it.
Yes, absolutely. And we are so grateful that you are bringing this to our attention, because when I say that people might already be happy and they're in a home, a leasehold property, it's not that they're happy. They could be happy and oblivious and absolutely unaware. And so what I wanted to bring to their attention was, okay, you might already be in a leasehold, and you might be listening to this thinking, what's she talking about? I've got none of these problems, but actually perhaps they haven't been signposted to you as transparently as they were later down the line to Lucia, because neither was it to Lucia. She thought she was, happy, signed on the dotted line, went to buy a property, but actually what she bought was a temporarily living place. Like, this is just where you just bought access. You just bought a long-winded Airbnb or something, like something that you could just live in for now, but you didn't actually own. So, just check your contracts, check this NLC community. I imagine, is there like a website or a Facebook page that we can visit?
So on Facebook, if you visit the NLC, just type in NLC. I think there's only one on there anyway. It should come up with National Leasehold Campaign. I think the logo is black, red and yellow. Do you know, I don't pay much attention to that, if I'm honest, but they're the colours. Definitely get yourselves on there. Have a little look through. If you've got any issues, same as ground rent, service charge, RTM, just type it in the search box and you will end up with so many real life stories. And the ladies, Kathy, Jo and Katie, have helped people on there as well. Not only that, but you've also got LKP and ALEP solicitors. So they're the Leasehold Knowledge Partnership, I believe.
Sorry, say that again. LKP?
The Leasehold Knowledge Partnership, I think.
And what do they do?
They're ALEP solicitors, ALEP. They're made for leaseholds. They specialise in leasehold. They're a bit more costly to use, but they are phenomenal in what they do. And we do encourage everyone to use them if you're experiencing any problems with your leasehold, or even if you want to sell your leasehold. Saying that though, Rubina Ferreira, again, of Woodstock, who I use for my deed variation, was fantastic. So I have been advising people, maybe talk to her as well, if it's just consultation advice. She's just absolutely amazing. She was so quick, fast, efficient, and her communication was fantastic. So massive shout out for Ruby for helping me as well. It's just one of those things where you don't know anything about it until suddenly you get these invoices smacked onto your doorstep and you haven't got the funds, especially if it's 9 times out of 10, it's in January, you've just had Christmas and you haven't got those funds there, it's rinsed you out. But they're not going to wait for it neither. So sometimes people even get a loan just to pay off a service charge, which is not...
No, that is alarming. That is very alarming. And the fact that, you know, there isn't more due diligence being done from the lender, you know, about, what do you think what good lenders could be doing? Because, of course, we've got lender listeners here as well. And what lenders, is there a difference, do all lenders lend on leasehold, or is there only a select few that would do it?
No, most of them lend on leasehold, yeah. You'll find that a lot of them won't allow the ground rent to be above 0.1% value of the property, though, which is kind of hard because a lot of properties now are above that, especially if they have gone through the doubling or RPI as well. So doubling's bad enough, but then you've got RPI ground rent. That can be just as bad. And the government they've helped out on the doubling ground rent, hence the DOV, but they haven't quite helped out on the RPI yet. So we are waiting for that to come in. But lenders they're definitely cracking down. They're definitely more aware. And at first, it was a bit of a pain in the ass because we were like, well, we need to place this somewhere and we can't find anywhere. But now it's like they're supporting us through saying, well, I'm not going to lend on that. So then the others aren't going to lend on that. So good luck selling that. So then the freeholder's going to have to do something. They're going to have to give a discount on extending it or something, or just realise that you are a prisoner in your own home now and you're a mortgage prisoner because you're going to find it hard to remortgage out of that as well, because lenders have come down it like a ton of bricks, which is fantastic. I really appreciate that. But when you said due diligence, it's more conveyancers and brokers that need to do their due diligence. You need to know what you're sending your client. You need to know the costs that are coming with that. You need to make them aware of that as well. You need to know the repercussions, because I personally wouldn't want to complain 10 years down the line and someone say, or even see my name across social media where someone said, this was my broker and she didn't make me aware. That would break me. That would absolutely... I wouldn't have anything. I'd probably leave the industry if I saw that, because you've just essentially helped someone invest in a developer or freeholder's account, and you know that the prices are going to go up and you haven't told them. It's like you've just caught them in that web as well yourself. So definitely do your due diligence. Look on the market. I always look on Rightmove. I look at the estate agents. I look at EPCs. I look at the government. I do everything about that property. I don't even have to do all of that because that is the estate agent and conveyancer's job. But I'm a bit nosy as well. So I will look at absolutely everything and just say, you do know that this comes with an EPC of F. You do realise that this service charge is extremely high and it's probably not going to be sellable. A lot of people will find it difficult as well to get a lender to accept if their service charge is too high as well, because it needs to fit affordability. But if it's constantly, it's not capped neither, and it's not unregulated, it's not regulated, it can go up at however like they want each year. And lenders will see that as, well, that's already £2,000. If that goes up to £3,000, that's an unworthy asset to us. So, and especially if, another thing I wanted to mention is if you buy a top floor flat, which I have, and this absolutely, I brick it every single year. I brick it, getting a notification saying that they've now extended the permitted development rights. It's where the freeholder can bung on another 2 stories on top of your flat, because again, you don't own the attic, you don't own the airspace above that. They can bung on 2 other stories on top of your property and you can't do anything about it. So can you imagine that? You've just smacked down 210k on a property that you're basically paying a load of rent in like 25 years in advance, and then they whack on another 2 properties, and then they haven't made it watertight, and you've got the wood beams coming down and water coming in, and it's winter and you've just got no home left. And you haven't got building insurance, because why would you when it's included in the service charge? They've got the builder's insurance, but why would they claim? Because it means the premium's going up. So, and they don't admit fault. You're stuck. As a leaseholder, you're stuck in a home that you can't live in. You're living in a hotel because they decided to bung on 2 properties and you had no say over it at all.
That is alarming, guys. That, like, I cannot really. My eyes have been open today. I was not aware of this. When you look at it, you think, right, I'm buying the property, but not the ground that it's on. You don't consider that potentially they can build something right in front of your building. They could take your lawn away. They can build 2 flats on top of your flat. And then suddenly you've got, I mean, when you say you get put up in a hotel, do they put you in a hotel or do you have to go and put yourself into a hotel?
You'd have no choice but to go in a hotel for a bit, would you? The freeholders aren't there to help you. They make your life a misery. They drain you financially, emotionally, mentally. It's a complete draining process, but they're not there to help you. And I spoke to freeholders who have sat there and said to me, and CEOs of developments as well, and said to me, no, we're there to help you. The country needs us freeholders. The country needs leaseholders and it runs perfectly well. And I'm thinking, are you completely oblivious? Are you blind completely to the newspapers and articles and all these buildings collapsing because the freeholder decided to be greedy and bung another 2 stories on and it wasn't going to hold? And then you haven't even been able to house that people because suddenly they go tone deaf. When you owe them money, they're there. And when you need their help, they're nowhere to be seen.
So this, again, I don't know if a freeholder is happening to listen to this episode, right? And like you said, there's some really nice freeholders out there and some people do really take care of, their tenants and things like that. But if there were to be a freeholder listening to this episode right now, what would your message be to them? What would you love for them to hear, change and do after hearing this?
Be more fair, be more reasonable with your costs. If a leaseholder is reaching out for help, try and help them. Don't put them down when they're already down, because we get that a lot. And when we reach out for help, a lot of us are quite proud. We're homeowners and we just think we don't need that help. So when we reach out, it means that we really, really, really need the help. And I say we because I've been there as well and I've needed that help and they completely refused. So just do the moral thing. Just be kind to your leaseholders. Although they owe you nothing, they're paying you a ground rent each year just for the privilege of living on your land. The least you could do is listen to them, reply to emails. If there's a leak or something, or to be fair, that's more maintenance company, which is another sticky point because maintenance and freeholder don't always communicate neither. But if you are contacted, do the right thing. Contact them back. Help them. Don't just ignore them. If it's going to cost you money, that's just part of being a freeholder, unfortunately. But it's not as bad as being a leaseholder.
And what would you like the government to do? What do you think they should do to help this situation?
Again, be fair with the charges. Allow us to be able to extend our leases. That isn't going to it isn't going to make us go for another loan or isn't going to bankrupt us. Make charges more fair. Bring freeholders up to account as well, because a lot of them will just say, oh, we haven't done anything wrong, and they'll take you to first tier tribunal for something that isn't even your fault, and then you have to pay their costs as well as yours. And the government needs to step in and just say, oh, hold on a minute, you're nothing to them. They're just paying to live on your land, but other than that, you're nothing. Why aren't you helping these people? Like I said, they are trying to bring in a reform and new legislations, but it just takes a very long while to come in. But until then, if just one freeholder listened to this and thought, I could do better, then that would be amazing. But as I said, not all leaseholds are bad. Not all freeholders are bad. I know a nice one. I know a couple of nice ones myself. Not all maintenance companies are bad. I have a fantastic maintenance company myself, actually. They answer emails within an hour. They are here cleaning every single week. If something goes wrong, they're here in the next 48 hours fixing it. I have classical property services and they're just fantastic. I have told as many people as I can about them. If they go RTM and they want the right to manage their own property and they're looking for another company, definitely look at classical property services, because I've been very, very lucky that I've been able to get the DOV done and I've got a really good maintenance company. My service charges haven't risen. They haven't increased in 4 years because they're just like, well, we haven't got anything to increase. We've managed to use the sinking funds and keep on track with everything, and they don't overcharge us for anything. So yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. I've made it out like it's quite doom and gloom, but it's not always the case. But you just need to be careful that you're not getting yourself into that case. And again, it's down to us to make you aware that you're not neither.
Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I certainly am more cautious now with these type of properties. As much as the property might look like a bargain, you're getting it really cheap, and obviously buying a freehold property is more expensive. Really look into the reasons why.
Yeah.
Certainly changed my perspective from, being one that kind of hangs out in the property space. I will be actively seeking, and they're probably going to be actively avoiding me, but I'm going to be actively seeking some freeholders, because I would love to get to know someone and their perspective, right? There's always another perspective, right? Everyone's in this. I don't think anyone wakes up on purpose and says, right, how am I going to make this person's life a misery? Like, I'm sure there are some people like that, but I'd love to know, if you are a freeholder and you want to have your voice be heard, and you want to give a counter argument to Lucia's mind-blowing facts there, please do make yourself known. I'd be delighted to interview you and tell your story and show your side of the story, because again, we need to understand, we can't have this conversation on our own. We're not here to attack anybody. We just want to understand, and we know that from a receiver's point of view, as Lucia once was and has been, it hasn't been pleasant. So that needs to be addressed. So Lucia, if anyone else wanted to kind of connect with you and stay in touch with you, where might they find you? Where are you visible right now?
Usually in bed, to be fair, I nap a lot. No, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Nextdoor, it'll be Southend St Luke's. I am everywhere, considering I'm not a massive social media person, but business-wise, I am known.
Yeah,
definitely. I'm more active, I'd say, on LinkedIn. I don't know why, but I'm on everything.
Amazing. Well, there we are. Lucia Knott is on everything. Even if you just type in her name, I know you'll find her. Make sure that you remember to look out for the NLC as well, and LKP. Were they the conveyancers?
Yeah, LKP as well. Can I also say one more thing that a lot of people at NLC see this? They'll be like, "Oh, what about shared ownership and retirement properties?" That's a conversation for another day. I can't fill it all in today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course. Today, thank you, Lucia. No, today I really wanted to highlight this experience that you had gone through with leasehold. I've not had anyone on the show talk about that. I've not had anyone in my life talk about that, but I certainly do know people who own leasehold. So this will be one for, this will be a big share for me on social media. But equally, guys, look, Lucia is a qualified and experienced mortgage advisor. She understands the whole of market. She understands all lenders. She understands buying property, selling property. She's a homeowner herself. So she has been through it and has been through but she's not been through it all. Like, I'm sure you haven't had the experience of buying a shared ownership and a right to buy and a help to buy. But you obviously have clients who do have that experience. So again, if you're listening to this and you don't have access to a mortgage advisor, or you are a leaseholder and you'd like to talk to somebody, I'm sure Lucia would be more than happy to receive a message from yourself on social media. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Good. Well, thank you again, everyone, for tuning in to yet another brilliant speaker. Thank you for showing up here today and for supporting Lucia share her story. If it resonated with you and you wanted to get more help, please do reach out. If you wanted your counter argument and you wanted to deliver your voice and you want your story to be heard, please do come on the show and request to be on the show. I'd be more than happy to hear from you. But of course, for those loyal listeners, thanks again for being here today. And if you're new and you've only just come across the Money Honey podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you can hear from more expert speakers that are coming on every single week. We release an episode every single Friday. So this is your dose of motivation for this week, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.